A new season begins, and with it, a championship that offers more than just trophies. Tonight, we go green for round 1 of the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship, live from the fast-flowing and relentlessly honest Lime Rock Park. 4 rounds, 12 races, 1 title to claim, and a genuine opportunity to step into real-world motorsport. Lime Rock Park leaves nowhere to hide, no long straights to recover, no margin for error, just rhythm, momentum, and absolute commitment. Every corner blends into the next, and one mistake can undo an entire lap. It's the perfect stage to open a championship built on racecraft and discipline. And this season, the rewards reflect that philosophy. At the end of the championship, both the Pro and Am champions will earn a real-life test in the Cartini Racing Formula Vee, a direct bridge from sim racing to the physical cockpit. But this year, the story doesn't end with the champions. For the first time, we introduce a season-long prize draw. For every race you finish on the lead lap, you will earn 1 ballot entry. It's a system designed to reward what real racing values most: attendance, consistency, clean execution, and staying out of trouble. At season's end, one driver will be drawn to receive an additional real-world Cartini Racing driving experience. Not 1 prize, not 2, but ladies and gentlemen, 3 prizes. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The championship isn't just about who's fastest over a single lap, it's about who delivers week in and week out. 4 rounds, 12 races, real consequences with real rewards. This is the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship presented by BiS, with special thanks to Cartini Racing, live from Lime Rock Park. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome to Pit Road Productions. My name is Daniel Zippy Salmon, and it takes me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to this man, Mr. Reese Gardner, the one and only. And at this point, I would usually say behind the scenes, Mr. Christian Hill, but ladies and gentlemen, we put him in a car. This is going to be an absolute belter, Reese.
Yes, it is. I can't wait to hear what you've come up with to roast Christian over the course of tonight's racing. But we've got an incredibly competitive field here. Reigning champion Brandon Hawken has returned. He's going to be trying to defend his title. And we've had a few BiS regulars joining up with the championship as well. This is the first time that this series has been run under the BiS Sim League's banner. And it's brought with it quite a bit more competition, which is very good to see. But for the moment, I think we should have a look at the track that we are racing at today. It's incredible stuff here. Welcome to Lime Rock Park, a historic road course that demands respect from the very first corner. The lap begins with the sweeping approach into Big Bend, where precision on entry defines the entire opening sector. Carry speed with confidence and the lap flows. Hesitate and you're immediately exposed. Through the S's, balance is everything. The car must be placed deliberately, the input smooth and the throttle carefully managed. Any disruption to rhythm here costs time and invites pressure. The run through West Bend at turn 6 and into the downhill at turn 7 tests commitment. Blind crests, fast direction changes, and minimal runoff punish hesitation and reward trust in the car. Overtaking at Lime Rock must be earned. Positioning, patience, and setup matter far more than brute force, especially in a championship where finishing on the lead lap can mean another ticket toward a real-world drive. Lime Rock doesn't reward desperation, it rewards execution. This is where the season begins. And just to point out, we are using the Grand Prix layout, which uses the chicane at the uphill at turn 5. The curbs there are particularly brutal, so the drivers will have to avoid that, Zippy.
Oh, absolutely, certainly. It's definitely been a piece of the course that has caught a few people out. But ladies and gentlemen, one of my favourite parts, let's indeed see where we've gone and indeed where we're going to be going. Obviously, round 1, we're going to be here at Lime Rock Park. Round 2, taking us over to Summit Point. Round 3, I know this is going to be one of your personal favourites, Mr. Reese Gardner. It's Phillip Island before round 4 takes us all the way over to Motorsport, the home track of BiS. But Reese, tell us what we got for a race format here this evening for the BiS Formula 1200 Championship.
Yes, indeed. The F1200 Esports Championship is going for a 3-race format this season, 3 15-minute races, and that's basically all there is to it. The drivers have already completed their open qualifying and practice sessions. Races 1 and 2 back-to-back, a 5-minute warm-up in between races 2 and 3, and race 3 will have the top 10 inverted from the finish of race 2. So we'll be seeing exactly how the drivers tackle tackle this in just a few moments' time because the grid is upon us. Brandon Hawken, reigning champion, has claimed pole position with Clay Morris from BiS alongside him on the front row. Michael Broomhead, BiS owner, is starting third place alongside Jackson Morley. The first of our M-Class cars, Mark Boyd. He's got Keith Wilfred alongside him. Braden Otto and Rob Wright, 7th and 8th. Victor Plord and Xavier Martin. Christian Hill and Dan Cybulski rounding out the top 12 cars here.
As we have a look here at P13, ladies and gentlemen, Nicholas Calander joins us with Steve Sutherland in P14. Having a look a little bit further back in 15th, we've got Sean Henley with Ryan Brooks in 16th. Lane Anderson takes 17th with Ryan Knight there in 18th. And then in 19th, we got Ella Martin closing out your 19-car grid. Ladies and gentlemen, absolutely fantastic stuff here as we are indeed getting the first pace lap underway. I've got to say, Reese, I am absolutely buzzing, even more than these Formula Vees. It's going to be an absolute belter of a season.
Oh, it absolutely is. And we've got two drivers at the back of the field who did not set qualifying times. Mitchell Green and Chris Sadler. There's quite a few names in this series now that you will have been familiar with if you watch our BiS Sim Leagues broadcasts here on Pit Road Productions. And it's really tightened up the field. The margin for pole position, just over 0.2 of a second, which I think is a little bit less than Brandon Hawken was dealing with last season. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the drivers can do here. The slipstream is incredibly strong in the Formula V's, and you get a basically flat-out run all the way from the chicane to the entry to Big Bend at Turn 1. So we're going to be seeing some draft trains happening here.
Absolutely. Oh dear, on the warm-up lap, ladies and gentlemen, who's just gone around there? It's Christian Hill.
Oh, no.
I don't need to roast him. He can do it on his own. How on earth did he manage to spin it on a pace lap? Christian, come on. You're writing the material for me here, but don't get me wrong. He's going to get a chance to get back there into position. He's going to have to put his foot down now. Currently, he's 7 positions down, and for lack of better words, trying to send it there through the grid as the pace car is indeed making its way towards pit lane.
Indeed it is. Looks like Christian's just managed to get himself back in position in time for the run out of the final corner. Let's go then as Brandon Hawken gets ready to lead us away here. The first round of the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship is go, and it looks like a bit of confusion on the rows further back. Brandon Hawken going to lead us into turn 1. See those puffs of smoke? That's not a sign of engine trouble. That's just how Formula V's are. So let's see what kind of visibility the drivers further back in the field will have, especially later on in the race. Well, meanwhile, it looks like Mark Boyd and Keith Wilfred have been overtaken by 2 pro-class cars, and Wilfred under a little bit of pressure here. Victor Plord up the inside of him at the S's, but the exit round the outside working out nicely, coming up to the chicane for the first time. Have a look at those red sausage curves, or turtles, I suppose you could call them, at the apexes. Christian Hill hit one of those, and it looks like someone else has too.
Well, definitely a few drivers getting caught in that incident there. Dan Cybulski getting caught up as well. And I do believe we got a bunny hopping Formula V there in the form. I believe that may have been a little bit further back. It was Ryan Brooks and Lane Anderson. Let's take a quick look here at the replay and find out exactly what just went on.
Yeah, so it is an overtaking opportunity, but unfortunately it seems a bit of a coming together between Sean Healy and Dan Cybulski. Ryan Knight getting a little bit of a bump on, and that actually sent Cybulski into Healy. So that's not ideal for the first lap here, but it looks like everyone except Ryan Brooks and Lane Anderson have managed to keep it going. Ella Martin has brought it into the pits as well. We still have 19 cars out on track, and Brandon Hawken leading by 2 seconds. Oh dear, take it easy here through the chicane. You've got to give room, and there's more trouble. Broomhead, Wright, and Nicholas Colander all having problems there. Oh my goodness. This is going to be quite the interesting night if this is anything to go by. Got mechanical black flags showing up for quite a few cars. Evidently those curbs at the chicane are something the drivers will have to look out for.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as I realized it was a Grand Prix layout race, I was Very much expecting there's going to be any kind of carnage. It would indeed be that corner, but right now, they call him Bubba, ladies and gentlemen. That is the one and only Mr. Mark Boyd, leader of Auto Eclectic Motorsport. Certainly, if you want to run a radical, he's a man to speak to. He even has them for rent, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it's on my bucket list of dreams. But saying that, I'm going to drive the Lima racing car probably first. I should probably ask Cedric. Speaking of that, but I've got to say, let's give Mr. They call him Bubba a little bit of a shout out here, as the camera angle I'm looking for is not quite cutting it. But ladies and gentlemen, on the side of that car, obviously representing Auto Eclectic, and not only that, Pit Road Productions as well. But meanwhile, though, he's currently leading the AM class in this first debut race here at Lime Rock Park. Keith Wilfred very much in contention right behind, as is Clay Morris as well, albeit Clay Morris riding in the pros.
Yes, this is a good run for Mark Boyd, but he's going to have to give room to the inside there for Keith Wilfred, as Wilfred takes the AM class lead coming out of the downhill, and now the slipstream kicks in again. Keep an eye here on Boyd and Wilfred, with Clay Morris with them here, getting a bit of side draft and getting up the inside of Boyd on the way into turn one. Christian Hill's going to try and keep his nose in it too. Inside line through Big Bend, and it looks like he may have just about secured it. He certainly has. So Christian is up to 5th place, and well, we'll be seeing Wilfred and Boyd continue to duke it out there over the AM class lead. Hawkins' lead overall has gotten out to about 4 seconds. Hawken has wasted no time here, making his way to the front and staying there.
Indeed, he is a force to be reckoned with, ladies and gentlemen. Braden Otto, though, he's got a good lead ahead of this fighting pack right behind him, being led by Keith Wilfred.
Yeah, Braden Otto up 5 positions. He elevated himself all the way up from 7th to 2nd. Fight continuing. Clay Morris getting into the slipstream out of the final corner, and will pass by Keith Wilfred on the way into turn one. Christian Hill in his wheel tracks there. I almost thought that he'd go 3 wide there, but Christian is certainly looking to be...
Nudge!
Oh, a little bit of a nudge. I was about to say Christian was being careful about it, but maybe that's not quite the case. Hill's going to try and keep his nose in it here, inside for the right-hander of the S's, and he's given the room there by Keith Wilfred, but he has to wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, if you take a quick look in his mirror, though, it's absolutely filled with Mark Boyd right behind him. Indeed, they call him Bubba. He's going to be looking to try and get those positions back. That's speed contact, ladies and gentlemen. What happened there? I have a feeling Ella Martin may have been involved just ahead of that.
Yeah, Clay Morris losing a lot of time there, and yeah, Ella Martin was slow through the chicane, trying to let drivers go, and unfortunately, Clay Morris made contact with her. It's really hard to make it side by side through the chicane. Martin herself having that spin earlier. This is where the incident happened. In comes Morris, and I mean, it's so difficult to pick your line through there with no cars ahead of you. I mean, what were you supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah, fair play. Definitely a little bit of a surprise there. Thankfully, Clay Morris is indeed still in the running and able to try and catch up to this pack. But right now, I actually remember this gentleman here, Xavier Martin. He actually competed last season, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see he has indeed returned. The Canadian driver, got to say, he had his work cut out for him this last season. But indeed, I think this season, very much going to be the same. But right now, I've got to say as well, the majority of the field rocking the Canadian flag, albeit we have expanded, ladies and gentlemen. I think last year it was only Brandon Hawkin. No, actually, he's Canadian. I thought he'd traveled from further apart, but I've got to say we have some drivers from even further apart, ladies and gentlemen. We have 3 Americans who kindly joined us, and right now, one of them who's actually the hard charger as well is Mr. Christian Hill.
Yeah, Hill started in 11th place and has elevated himself up to 3rd. It's 4th now as Keith Wilfred gets past him before the start-finish line, but Christian will have the inside for turn 1. Is he given the room? He certainly is, flinging it into the corner as hard as he can as Keith Wilfred, and it looks like he'll keep that momentum going round the outside. Momentum is more important than anything in these Formula Vee cars.
Oh, absolutely. Certainly, you can battle to your heart's content. And honestly, some of the closest finishes I've ever seen on Pit Road Productions, and indeed on in racing in general. Honestly, the Formula V's usually tends to be that. Don't get me wrong, Brandon Hawkin, he's a weapon, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, you're going to need more than just a license to carry that guy, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, The action is incredibly close, and realistically, there's so much strategy involved in actually getting a good result with these. Like, you can't just get ahead and hope you're going to run away with it. It's not going to work. You have to plan it out laps ahead, and certainly you got to wonder as well. Mark Boyd, he was leading this pack, leading the amateur class, but is it going to be enough? Currently, he's there in that pack. The two pros and the two drivers who've broken away. How's this all going to work out at the end? I mean, these three guys are fighting for the first podium of the season.
Yeah, they are. It's the closest fight we have on track. 4 cars involved, and all running pretty equal pace. But Clay Morris, the fastest of them all. He's run about 0.6 of a second faster than the 3 cars ahead of him on the previous lap. And he has sent Mark Boyd slightly offline on the way into the S's, so there's some lack of momentum there, but Morris is not able to get by here. You know, this being one of the heavier braking zones on the lap coming into the chicane, you'd think that this was an overtaking opportunity, but those red turtles at the apexes narrow the lines you can take.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can force a pass into the braking area there if you really want to, but the compromise you get going down up, well, I guess going up the hill afterwards, it's too high risk. Realistically, I think the best passes are to be made after the Samposi straight and down, heading into turn 1.
Speaking of, we're about to go there. Mark Boyd out of the slipstream now, but Christian Hill and Keith Wilfred are doing nicely, running in a train there at the front. Mark Boyd going to try his best to go for the overall podium here and hits both apexes of Big Ben nicely. But again, the car around the outside carries a lot of momentum. And so Keith Wilfred and Mark Boyd side by side for the AM class lead. This is going to be an interesting fight here. Christian Hill is going to see an opportunity open, but he can't quite make it 3 wide down the no-name straight, which is this section of track they're running down now into the chicane. And you see just how precise you have to be with those turtles. They are very high and they're made of concrete, so they will send you spearing around, as we've already seen.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, of all the cars, if you're going to have an accident in the sim, the Formula Vee does actually deliver really well. Certainly, Lime Rock Park, you can get a good run up for the little runoff area at the end of the at the main straightaway. But I got to say, going 3 wide down no name straight, I would enjoy seeing it, but I've got a feeling it's not going to end well. As right now, we've got a formation lap going here between Christian Hill, Mark Boyd, and indeed Keith Wilfred. These guys have been inseparable. Clay Morris, though, I have a feeling he's just lurking in the background, biding his time. And not only that, Xavier Martin has been able to get in on the mix as well.
He has. He's latched onto the back of the pack. Christian Hill in the blue and orange machine has found his way to the front of this pack. Now brief side by side between Mark Boyd and Clay Morris. Morris in the white machine there. And remember, Morris qualified second, so he'd ideally want to make his way back to the front of this pack in due course. Seeing that there's only going to be 5 laps to go when they cross the line next. 15 lap races here at Lime Rock Park at a lap that takes just over a minute to complete. Martin, meanwhile, has not been able to keep up with the pack, but a little bit of side-by-side through turns 1 and 2, and he might just see it. Jackson Morley and Victor Plord, meanwhile, battling for the last position in the top 10.
Yeah, certainly Jackson Morley, he's in the pro class as well. I gotta say, I'm not familiar with this driver, but right now he's under pressure here from Victor Plord. And don't get me wrong, going off iRating, these guys are separated by about 600 iRating, ladies and gentlemen. But don't get me wrong, in a Formula Vee, Formula 1200, that's not going to be enough. You need to really pull out some extra gap. Not only that, it's a fixed setup car as well. It's fully a test of the driver, and I have a feeling these two guys are going to be battling it out all the way to the end. Meanwhile, though, let's return to the front of the pack here and check in with this battle being led currently by the number 48 of Keith Wilfred.
Yeah, this is a difficult situation for this whole pack because they're fighting amongst themselves. They all want that last podium spot, but Braden Otto is not too far ahead. Oh no, Christian Hill getting into the back of Keith Wilfred, and both of them, Mark Boyd as well out there, and Xavier Martin. Oh, dearie me, 4 cars involved in that fight, and that has completely erased the battle for the podium.
Well, I gotta say, Steve Sutherland has literally just won the lottery in this scenario. Don't get me wrong, teammate there to Mark Boyd, but it's fair to say he is going to be buying a lottery ticket after this, ladies and gentlemen, or indeed pick the metaphor of choice as Mark Boyd picks up a meatball flag, as does Xavier Martin, but Saying that, I believe Christian Hill, no, he picked one up as well. They all picked one up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have to open an Italian restaurant for some of the carnage we've had here today in the first race.
And if we get a replay of that, I would love to see it from on board Clay Morris, because the incident avoidance that Morris displayed was really something special. Look at this. He finds his way through on the inside with no room to spare as everyone goes spearing across the racetrack behind him. That's a real shame for everyone else involved in that battle, but it's perhaps the biggest gift that Clay Morris has received today so far.
Yeah, definitely hard to get a good angle of that one there, but certainly it was indeed a bit of a redemption for him. But right now, we do have more battles going on, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, this man, I've been speaking to him a little bit before this season went live, but he is a Formula Vee fanatic, ladies and gentlemen, and he says you've got to be in it to win it, and that is exactly right. As I see more puffs of smoke, ladies and gentlemen, not sure who they're from. Fair play, though. It looks like he's having a battle here with Mike Broomhead, and certainly Mitchell Green has had a bit of an incident as well.
It looks like there's been quite a bit of carnage going on throughout the field. Is this a solo error from Mitchell Green? Let's see. Oh, yeah, he ran a bit deep into the chicane and collected the turtle on the final apex of the chicane. And that would send you airborne. Not ideal. So the drivers that we usually see competing up the front in BiS competition, for the most part, falling by the wayside here in this first race. I think it's a combination of round one jitters plus the nature of the track. It's a more difficult track than you think, Lime Rock. Looks simple enough from the air, but that's certainly not the case once you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more strategy than meets the eye, but right now what I am seeing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're familiar with Pit Road Productions, you're going to realize that this man is usually behind the production controls for every BiS show, but just ahead of him, albeit on a different lap, Mike Broomhead, ladies and gentlemen, I could enjoy seeing a grudge match between these drivers, but saying that we only have 2 laps left, have we got another battle going on there, this time between Chris Sadler and indeed Eugene Cartini, leader of Cartini Racing, and indeed our lead sponsor, as we do have a barbecue going on down pit road.
Yeah, that we do. Bit of smoke being thrown up there. Yeah, Cartini has been running the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship, or providing the main prize for it for the last couple of seasons. And it's been really awesome to see him continue to strut his stuff out here. Hello, Zippy's dog. I'm not sure if you on the broadcast can hear that. Brandon Hawken, meanwhile, has started the final lap, and the reigning champion has gotten his season off to the best start possible. At least for now, he's got some lap traffic ahead of him, which might make things a little difficult. There's Mitchell Green, Keith Wilfred, Mark Boyd up ahead of him. But we have to wonder exactly how fast Hawken is compared to these 3 drivers. He does have basically a 103.4 for his previous lap there, and it would appear that he'll have no trouble making his way past Green. Interestingly, the fastest lap actually belongs to Christian Hill, a 103.0. Shame for Christian. Could have been on the overall podium, but is down in 16th thanks to the crash we saw earlier. Checkered flag is out. And, oh no, white, yeah, checkered flag is out. My apologies. And Brandon Hawken is going to take the first race win of the season here at Lime Rock Park. A fantastic drive. He started from pole and was barely under any pressure at all, very crucially gaining that second or so gap in the first couple of laps, and that set him up for success. Lovely to see. Otto and Morris are your podium, and Stephen Sutherland will certainly be very happy with 4th place, winning the AM class. In Australia, we call that doing a Bradbury, and if you want to know what that means, just look it up. Jackson Morley rounds out your top 5 in the pro class, but overall, quite the interesting first race to start things off, Zippy.
Indeed it is, Reese. I do apologise there. I'm not entirely sure what on earth just set off my pup, but it's fair to say she was not happy about something, ladies and gentlemen. But don't get wrong, she's just like me. She is very, very vocal about it. But I gotta say, what an absolutely fantastic first race, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, definitely a little bit more chaotic than I expected, but fair play. I got a feeling I'm going to see even more great racing action as the season progresses.
Well, we can go through our results then. Brandon Hawken wins. Oh, just as the session ticks over, that's convenient. Brandon Hawken, Braden Otto, Clay Morris, Stephen Sutherland, and Jackson Morley are your top 5. Victor Plaud finishing in second in the AM class ahead of Ryan Knight, Dan Cebulski, and Chris Sadler. Michael Broomhead rounding out your top 10.
Let's have a look there. Rob Wright took P11 with Eugene Cartini in 12th. Mark Boyd, they call him Bubba, there in 13th. And Mitchell Green in 14th. Ella Martin takes 15th. Xavier Martin, I wonder if they're related actually, there in 16th with Christian Hill in 17th. Keith Wilford in 18th. Can't see that. Lane Anderson in 19th. And then Sean Henley rounding out the top 20.
So Healy there in 20th place ahead of Nicholas Colander and Ryan Brooks, who were unable to make it very far into the race. That's 22 drivers that started and 22 drivers that will start the second race here. Of course, there's no change in the starting order, so basically we're just looking at the results screen we just read out, just organized by the grid rows. But Hawken, starting from pole position, is certainly going to be looking to repeat his race 1 success. I think it's all down to the gap that he managed to pull on the first lap. If the drivers behind him can avoid fighting with each other too much, then they might be able to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly in Formula Vee, you've got to think about the long game, ladies and gentlemen. It's the slipstream is so potent, and often I feel it's very similar to the Spec Racer Ford in an aspect. It's a car that is very often overlooked on the sim. And then as somebody who's got experience seeing it in the sim, and certainly I'd love to have more experience in real life, I'm going to do my best to get out to some of these test days that do indeed occur for the winners. But you know, it's so underestimated. And honestly, everybody's all about driving the high power cars and stuff like that. But the best, if you want to be a better driver, you need to find the limits of grip in something a little bit more manageable. Find the limit of grip in something with 500-600 horsepower. You've got to push a lot harder. Do it in something like the Formula Vee, develop your racecraft, and you will be a better driver in the long run.
Yes, Formula Vee really teaches you a lot of the basics of car control, similar to cars like your old favorite, the Spec Racer Ford. It's a car that has quite a bit of oversteer on the way into the corners, has an old-fashioned H-pattern 4-speed manual transmission, so you got to use the clutch on the upshifts. It is possible to blip the throttle and left foot brake on the downshifts, but maybe for stability's sake you'd want to use the clutch and heel toe when you're shifting down a gears. Not that you'd need to do it too much. At pretty much every track this car races at, you only need to use 3rd and 4th gears. First gear is crazy short, and second gear is a bit too short for most corners. So it's all down to car control, maintaining your momentum, trying to rotate the car as best you can through the corners.
Absolutely. Here we see the view from the back of the pace car, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolutely fantastic field. And I've got to say, absolutely loving the idea of having, you know, a ballot for every driver who you know, finishes on the lead lap and getting a chance to drive. I've got to admit, it was a phenomenal idea, and I'm blowing my own trumpet, Reese, because that was my idea.
Aha, nice. Excellent. Well, a very inspired choice, because it allows another driver, apart from our Pro and Am champions, to take two 10-lap sessions in the Cartini Racing Formula Vee at the end of the season. That is in the real world, continuing that BIS tradition of bringing the sim and real worlds together. Well, let's get ready for the start of race 2 then. Lights are up and we're getting ready to go. Brandon Hawkins starting from pole once more. Got Braden Otto alongside him. Power down, what little of it there is in the Formula Vee, and we are away. Slipstream already being picked up by Clay Morris, who's going to try and take second into turn 1. Big puffs of smoke happening all throughout the field. But it looks like Morris is going to secure second place. But have a look at the lead that Hawkins gotten already. I think that's his big strength here. He's just able to nail everything when the car is cold.
Honestly, at this point, I'm almost wondering if he should be a carpenter, because like you said, he is literally nailing it out of that corner. But don't get me wrong, Clay Morris is no slouch by any means. He is a BIS... he's BIS season, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, that's not a title that a lot of people will understand, but I can tell you in a strength of field like that, to have the podium seizures, takes a lot of talent. But I have a feeling something may have happened to Rob Wright, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed Christian Hill, as they are indeed falling through the field. What's going on there? Front nose cone missing it from the driver there. Let's have a quick look and find out exactly what happened.
Yeah, it looks to me like there was an incident behind Christian Hill. Rob Wright coming together with Ella Martin here, trying around the outside into the chicane, and Martin suffering a bit of understeer. And looks like a double connection there. Wright hit both the Turtle and Martin. Christian Hill, meanwhile, clobbering that curb, getting a bump, and it's unclear exactly what went on for him there, but looks like I think an onboard might tell a better story there.
Yeah, so we see you got a little bit of a curb popping there, a little bit of a nudge, goes out and over.
They were three wide at this point, and
I don't think they saw him.
Yeah.
I know
it looks like
it. We need for this. There we go.
Yes, indeed. So
oh my, come on.
Get out of the way, Tree.
Yep.
So three wide, and there was contact between the two cars to the left, and that sent the other car into Christian Hill. I believe that was Nicholas Colander, the driver in the middle. So unfortunately for Christian, he's now all the way at the back of the field, having jumped into the pits for some mild repairs. Colander still running in 17th place, and it looks like Brandon Hawken is under pressure for the lead. Braden Otto and Clay Morris are with him. Jackson Morley is with them as well. There's some trades happening for 5th on back as well. Michael Broomhead leading one hell of a pack. Look at that.
You see, this is exactly why I love the Formula Vee, ladies and gentlemen. Not just because of Mike Broomhead's absolutely splatter delivery, ladies and gentlemen. It actually reminds me of a very classical TV where, you know, you had to walk over to it and turn it on, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, Brandon Hawken, he was under pressure, but somehow he's pulled away 7/10 of a second. I've got nothing against this guy, the driver of the number 99. He's talented at what he does, but I want to see Clay Morris, Braden Otto, and indeed Jackson Morley give him a run for his money and keep this Pro Championship incredibly spicy.
Yeah, Hawken won the championship last season, winning every single the season before. Yes, he won the season. He won the first season of the championship by winning every single race. So they'll be trying to break that victory duck for him here. Oh, easy does it into turn one. It looks like Brandon Hawken's having a couple of network issues, which won't be inspiring too much confidence in the drivers behind.
Yeah, certainly. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't actually get black flag for it, because you can be as quick as you like, but if your connection's not going to be good, that could be an issue later on. But I've got to say, multiple fights happening there, as he does indeed appear to be checking out on occasion. But right now, Victor Plod has managed to make his way up to the front and is now leading the amateur class.
Well done to Victor. Rounding out the overall top 6 there, but under a lot of pressure from Michael Broomhead. Well, let's see, as the slipstream gets picked up, the final 2 turns of this layout. West Bend, just tip it in, flat out, and keep yourself nicely nestled behind the car you're chasing through the compression of the final turn. And now Broomhead will see his opportunity. Or will he? Actually, it looks like he might be trying to do a bit of bump drafting. They're 3 wide for the lead ever so briefly. Brandon Hawken has lost it to Clay Morris and Jackson Morley. And now Braden Otto is the one looking on in 4th place. Let's see what Hawken does here in a racing situation. No, Morris is around. Got into the back of Jackson Morley, I think, and that tipped him around.
Definitely not been the best of luck there for Clay Morris. He is pushing hard, ladies and gentlemen, but thankfully he is going to be able to stay with some of the other cars in this battle, ladies and gentlemen, albeit one that's a bit further back. But right now, Jackson Morley, your new race leader, but he has former champion, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Hawken right behind in that 99 car. Don't get me wrong, it's not just about pace. He's going to have to do it on strategy as well if he wants to win.
Yeah, that is the big question. 1/3 of the race is going to get ticked off here at the end of lap 5. Brandon Hawken left alone there as one heck of a slipstream picked up by Braden Otto, 3 wide across the line. And Hawken's going to be all the way on the outside for Big Bend. Another small blink on my end for Hawken, but he will not take the lead back for the moment. Bit of lap traffic ahead. Xavier Martin is not too far away.
Yeah, if my memory serves me rightly, though, Xavier is actually very cooperative, very sportsmanlike, but don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, he wants to stay on the lead lap. He's got very little incentive to let these guys by. He wants to stay ahead just so he can make sure he gets that ballot for a chance to win one of them, for a chance to win the 2 10-minute sessions, 10-lap sessions, sorry.
Yes, and as cooperative as you can be, sometimes the track forces your hand a little bit. And well done there to Xavier. He could have let them by through the chicane, but as we saw with Ella Martin in the previous race, that doesn't work out very well with those apex turtles. Well, it's now between Braden Otto and Jackson Morley to make their case for the top 2 here. Brandon Hawken still very close behind them. 3 wide once again. I think they're going to be repeating this every single lap if they keep going, but a bit of a bump there. Braden Otto and Jackson Morley just giving each other a little tap there, but they managed to keep it going. These cars are a little bit tougher than they seem.
Yeah, you can definitely get away with a little bit. It's not exactly sure how much you can get away with at times, ladies and gentlemen, but indeed, as a result, I have a feeling he's now missing the front nose cone from that Formula Vee. Oh no, it's there. It's good. We're fine.
Yep, it's fine. There's no, there hasn't been any front to rear contact. It was more a little tap side to side. They banged wheels on the way into turn 1. And these races are going by very quickly. You often think, well, 3 15-minute races, that's 45 minutes of time, and that's not nothing, but when you've got action like this, it goes in the blink of an eye. Victor Plord and Michael Broomhead still arguing over who's going to finish 4th at the moment. Maybe they'll try and work together to catch up to the top 3. For the moment, it seems that they are catching them. Morley, Otto, and Hawken, they were running low 104s, but they've managed to respond nicely and get back into the mid 103s, which is about 3/10 faster than what Plord and Broomhead are managing to run.
Yeah, certainly we have seen a couple of people break into the 102s as well, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I'm not quite sure actually who's running the best lap right now. We'll have to keep an eye out for it very shortly. But certainly the leapfrog could be a good strategy here, as it looks like we've got another battle going on, ladies and gentlemen. This time between Mitchell Green, Lane Anderson, and indeed Dan Cebulski.
Yes, these... Well, Green and Cebulski are drivers who were looking for a little bit more out of the previous race. Cebulski then ends up being let by Lane Anderson there. I think a bit offline there for Lane. But they should be still close enough to Mitchell Green to get a little bit of slipstream and continue this battle on. 4 real battles happening on circuit at the moment. This one for the top 3 as they're going to go 3 wide again. Brandon Hawken going to try through the middle to retake the lead of the race. How late do you want to get on the brakes for Big Ben? That late for Brandon Hawken. And once again, side by side between Otto and Morley. And a little bit of room given, but Braden Otto is going to keep second place well in his hands. Hawken still with those network issues. Hopefully they don't compound, because it'd be a shame to lose our leader.
Yeah, he's almost getting to the point where, the stewards may have to black flag him. We'll see if it does indeed interfere with the race. Certainly would be a little bit apprehensive going near him if all of a sudden he appears, and that's bad news for Jackson Morley. He's ended up getting a little bit loose going through the turtle chicane, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm actually going to name it what is formerly known as Turn 5. And that has cost him dearly, ladies and gentlemen, dropping all the way down to P8. And don't get me wrong, Steve Sutherland there, he's got to run up the hill. We may even be down to P9 if Sutherland can make the move as well.
Well, it takes about this long for the car to get back up to speed, and even then you see that Sutherland still has a lot of overspeed over Jackson Morley, and it's a very easy job in the end to get up the inside at the final corner. Sutherland benefiting once again from mistakes from others, up to 8th. Meanwhile, Mark Boyd and Keith Wilfred have gained a freebie out of that one, and Victor Plord and Michael Broomhead are now battling for 3rd. So this is going to be an interesting finish with 5 laps to go when they cross the line next.
Well, certainly, I have a feeling this is where strategy is going to come into play. Not only that, knowing who you're racing against, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, Michael Broomhead classed with the pros, ladies and gentlemen. I would say that is fair, but I also feel that he could sneak into amateur. But don't get me wrong, he's the league organizer, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a little bit awkward if the league organizer actually wins the series, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, he has driven race cars, and indeed he's actually pretty good. We've got to give him that as well. Credit where due, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, Victor Plord, he could be in for an opportunity here. His next serious competition is Mark Boyd, ladies and gentlemen. He's back about 4 seconds from where he's at now. All he needs to do is stay behind Mike Broomhead, not getting any incidents, and this could be a fantastic podium for him.
Yeah, certainly could. The slipstream is so strong in these cars that you ideally want to try and attempt to pass as late as possible on the final lap at some point and not give your rival any opportunity to get you back. Victor Plord will certainly have that one in mind as he continues to chase Broomhead. And I can't help but notice, a little bit further behind, see that white car? That's Clay Morris. He's catching up to these guys. His last lap was about 0.4 of a second faster than Plord's.
Yeah, actually, his last lap, ladies and gentlemen, very quick indeed. Certainly, Braden Otto currently the quickest on track with a 103.09, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely getting on, but which is interesting considering he's currently leading the race. Generally, you want the draft, but Clay Morris definitely potent behind the wheel, ladies and gentlemen. But further back, indeed, these two drivers are still going at it. Mark Boyd and Keith Wilfred. Not only that, Michael Broomhead as well, still going at it here with Victor Plord, and they are indeed falling behind the lead pack of Braden and Brandon.
Yep, Braden leading, Brandon chasing. And I only have 4 laps remaining here. So now is the time for Hawken to start planning his maneuver as it's side by side between Plord and Broomhead behind. Clay Morris will get into the podium battle now. The question for Otto and Hawken is how long will they be biding their time here? Brandon Hawken knows that he's the paciest over a single lap with no slipstream of anyone. The slipstream is so strong, in fact, that the fastest lap of the race belongs to Jackson Morley, who, when he was in that lead battle with Otto and Hawken, he set a 102.69, which is absolutely stonking pace. Speaking of stonking pace, Clay Morris, once again, running a 103.2. Compare that to a 103.8, 103.9 for Broomhead and Plord. And there's the position for Morris, up into 4th. Can he go for 3rd by turn 1?
I could definitely believe it, Reece. Certainly, the slipstream is absolutely monumental here in the Formula Vee, and certainly at Lime Rock Park as well. But right now, he's dispensed with Broomhead. That's a move 4 position, ladies and gentlemen. That's put him onto the pro podium and P4 overall. But don't get me wrong, Broomhead very much not out of it yet. Victor Plord, though, he's got to ask himself, how hard does he want to fight with Clay Morris? It's the 55 versus the 5 for P3.
Indeed, almost had a perfect 5 pun there, but they are battling within the last few positions in the top 5, so 55 and 5, both in the top 5, but we'll see. The penultimate lap come upon these guys very shortly. Victor Plord has a lot of pressure under him here. He's not a driver that I am intimately familiar with. Clay Morris and Michael Broomhead approach that a bit more. I've seen them in more competition as of recent. So this is going to be an interesting learning experience for me in the comms box, as it looks like Morris and Broomhead are content to go 3 wide across the start-finish line, past the river, down the Sam Posey straight into turn 1.
Oh,
nice extensive runoff area there. Lovely cut underneath there from Victor Plord. He was prepared for that one.
Oh, bye!
Oh! Did they make contact? Clay Morris has been sent off.
They did. I heard the bang, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, Clay Morris has definitely got his elbows out today, or indeed being given a little bit of a direction, not necessarily in the desire that he wants to go, but now he's going to be under attack from Keith Wilfred and indeed Mark Boyd in the closing stages of this race. But right now, at the front of the pack, it's Brandon Hawken, ladies and gentlemen. But for how long? With just about 1 lap left to go.
Yes, indeed. I had another look at the incident between Morris and Plord, and it looks like Morris was trying to cut underneath Victor, but Victor was a bit closer to him than he realized, and so I think it was more on Morris than anything else. Regardless, white flag is out, and Brandon Hawken is leading at the line. Braden Otto, I think, has played this quite well. He's sitting in 2nd place, which means he's going to get the full benefit of the slipstream when they come out of West Bend, but he's got to stay close enough to Brandon Hawken first.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing there. Did you see the car start to get a little bit of over-rotation? Don't get me wrong, the Formula Vee tyres, I believe they're radial, ladies and gentlemen. They're nothing particularly... it's not new technology on these cars. So we'll think that's probably the fairest way of saying it, ladies and gentlemen. But I do have to wonder as well, maybe got a little bit too heat, maybe been pushing it a little bit too hard. But right now, he is indeed very much in contention. As long as he can get a bit closer, I have a feeling, you know, 6 tenths per second there to Brandon Hawkin. I don't think he's going to be close enough to do it. The start-finish line is just too close to the final corner.
Yeah, and it looked like his run through the chicane wasn't as good as that of Hawkins, but Brandon is breaking the draft on the way into the final corner. He knows that there's still a chance for Braden to come back at him here, but the run to the line is upon us, and Brandon Hawkin is going to come across the line in P1, but with a bit more competition this time, just 3 tenths separating our leaders. Plord and Broomhead side by side, and Michael is going to get the slipstream and the advantage. He will take third in the end. Clay Morris managing to keep Keith Wilfred and Mark Boyd behind him and still preserve a top 5 out of that one. Chris Sadler is the driver we're looking at there ahead of Lane Anderson we're riding on board with. And oh, there we go. That's a nice jump there out of the final corner, and it looks like Lane Anderson is going to take it there ahead just before the line. Lucky 13th for him.
Yeah, definitely the draft is so potent in these, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely incredibly potent indeed. And I got to say, the racing's been absolutely phenomenal so far. We're 2 races in, 1 more to go for the night. And, you know, don't get me wrong, Brandon Hawkin is the favourite coming into this. But I definitely think he's going to have to work a bit harder this season than he did on the debut of the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship.
Yes, indeed. And don't forget, there is that reverse top 10 that we're going to be on board with for race number 3. So there's more pressure that Brandon Hawkin will have to deal with there. So that's going to be it then for race number 2. Hawkin taking victory over Braden Otto. Michael Broomhead rounding out our podium there. Victor Plord finishing just behind Michael Broomhead. Clay Morris was with Plord and Broomhead, but unfortunately mistimed move to the inside put paid to that. Keith Wilfred and Mark Boyd finishing behind him, with Jackson Morley recovering to P8 after his unfortunate spin. Dan Sibilski and Stephen Sutherland rounding out our top 10.
If you have a look there, P11 was filled by Mitchell Greenwood, Nicholas Hollander in 12th. Lane Anderson took 13th with Chris Sadler in 14th. Good move at the end of the lap there with Ryan Brooks in 15th. Rob Wright takes 16th with Ryan Knight in 17th. Christian Hill, definitely he's had pace here, and I'd like to see a bit more from him in race 3. He's there ahead of Eugene Cartini, who's in 19th, with Sean Henley closing out your top 20.
Yeah, and 21st and 22nd, Ella Martin and Xavier Martin. Neither of them able to get home on the lead lap, and Xavier retiring from the race. So unfortunate for him, but he has one more chance to go for it. So I guess now we're in the warm-up session, probably an opportunity to have more of a talk about the prizes that are coming up for this season. Of course, the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship has run for a couple of seasons now, and it's been great to see Eugene Cartini and his team Cartini Racing supporting this whole endeavor from the very start. They, of course, as you mentioned, Zippy, are providing the car and the test that our season winners will be going for once things are over and done with.
Yeah, definitely a huge thank you to Gene for putting that on. Certainly, I don't know how Mike does it either. Like, he manages to convince people to say, like, can we borrow your car? And they say yes. He's a talented individual. Certainly, I would love to have him on a sales team or indeed a marketing team. He would be a valuable asset, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, if you did want to get the skills of Mike Broomhead, give me a shout. I would love to try and set that up for you. Indeed, I would. If Pit Road Productions was like, you know, a 20 shows a day ordeal, I would employ him full-time, ladies and gentlemen, and without a doubt. But you know what I would really like to do, Reese? Maybe you can pop out and just head to the to 1200 Discord. Let's go get a driver for an interview. You want to go and wrestle one for me?
All right, I'll do my best.
Absolutely fantastic stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. As indeed, you see a couple of these drivers out there doing a couple of warm-up laps, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, Brandon Hawkin being one of them. Now, don't get me wrong, he's definitely got his work cut out for him a little bit harder this season, but indeed, it's great to see some competition here. The driver of the 92, Mr. Jackson Morley, he comes through as a pro as well. Despite being 2258 IR, He has been incredibly potent in these cars, ladies and gentlemen. The driver of the 92, incredibly talented indeed. Certainly, Ella Martin, that's a name I've definitely seen before. Mark Boyd, obviously. We've got some regulars here from BiS indeed. But I've got to say, what an absolutely fantastic schedule as well, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely beautiful schedule. We're going to be heading to Summit Point for the next round. We're heading to Phillip Island, the personal favorite of Mr. Reese Gardner. The final round, obviously, being at the BiS home track of Motorsport. Now, let us know in the chat as well if you're watching. Certainly, Jake Enns, he's somebody who I haven't seen in the chat tonight, but it looks like we may have got a driver for an interview, and he's actually going to have to speak during our broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you Mr. Christian Hill.
Hello.
Well, Christian, certainly it's good to have you here in the booth as a racer. Ladies and gentlemen, the stranger things have happened. Certainly, Christian, if you hop into your car a second as well, we can put your car on screen. But tell us a little bit what it's like to be competing in one of these events rather than hitting the production controls.
It's really nice. I've been wanting to race in one of these league races probably ever since I started doing productions, and it's great. I'm super excited. I've had some rough races here, but the first one actually started out pretty well. But they were all my faults. Both of them were my fault, so those were was karma for both. So, but I know I'm having fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, certainly it's an absolute pleasure to see you here in the racing form as well. But I've got to ask you, Christian, what on earth happened on that first warm-up lap?
Oh yeah, that first warm-up lap. I guess I hit the sausage curb, and it just kind of spun me around. That was a little oops. Yeah, I didn't mean to make.
Well, don't get me wrong, Christian. We did indeed catch it on film, so definitely one for your own personal highlight reel. But I gotta say, we are gonna wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you because you reach it onto the podium, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you the driver of the number 85, one of the producers here at Pit Road Productions, and indeed exclusively for BiS. Certainly, if we got a BiS show, BiS Radical Canada Cup, or indeed the BiS Formula 1600 Championship, this is the man behind the controls. But Christian, let's hope we have a better result here for race 3 as we're about to get ready to go live.
Thank you.
Good stuff from Christian Hill there, as we'll let him go. I'll drag him back to the interview landing area just in time for him to actually go back to the F1200 Discord himself, so I didn't need to do anything in the first place. All right, let's go through the grid then for race number 3. It's an inverted top 10. That means that we're going to be seeing Steven Sutherland on pole position with Dan Cybulski alongside, Jackson Morley and Mark Boyd 3rd and 4th, with Keith Wilfred and Clay Morris on row number 3. Victor Plaud and Michael Broomhead on row number 4, with Braden Otto and Brandon Hawken rounding out your top 10.
As we have a look back in P11, it's going to be Mitchell Green with Nicholas Colander alongside in P12. Having a look there at P13, we're going to have Lane Anderson with Chris Sadler alongside in 14th. Ryan Brooks takes 15th with Rob Wright alongside in 16th. Ryan Knight takes 17th with Christian Hill, the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, here in 18th, with Eugene Cartini in 19th and Sean Henley rounding out your top 20.
And Ella Martin and Xavier Martin will bring up the rear, but it actually looks like Xavier Martin has already disconnected from the server, so he won't be taking to the start for race number 3, which is a real shame. We'll only have 21 of our 22 starters here for the final race of the evening, but there's going to be plenty of competition still, especially with that inverted top 10. And I gotta say, Brandon Hawken, he's managed to win both races on the run so far, but starting from P10, that job is going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have his work cut out for him. This is where I personally love an invert grid. It gives the people at the front, at the in the mid pack, a good solid chance of victory. Certainly, we saw it. On Wednesday, actually, with one of the BiS races. That was the Radicals, actually, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, I feel very lucky that we have BiS here on Pit Road Productions, and indeed, I feel lucky for the drivers as well. Certainly, until BiS came along, I never saw any opportunities for people to get behind the real world wheel, and indeed, we now have 3 of them.
Yeah, that we do. Fantastic competition across all of the BiS leagues. We are concurrently running through the F1600 and Radical Cup Canada Championships. And in the off seasons for those, BiS also runs an IndyCar series and a Formula 3 series as well. And Clay Morris, in fact, was the champion of that Formula 3 series. So he's got a lot of form behind him. We'll see what he can do here with no wings and no slick tires. Around on the pace lap now. And while we've got a moment, Zippy, you mentioned Michael Broomhead's livery in the previous race. Well, he's fed me a little tidbit. His team in this series is David Broomhead Motorsport. David is Michael's brother. The livery that Michael is running is something that his brother ran in his days in Assetto Corsa. According to Michael, David wasn't good with Photoshop, but he is good at Excel, so he made the livery in Excel, and and that livery that Michael's running is a homage to his brother's liveries. To be clear, David Broomhead is alive and well, but it's been a while since he raced.
Yeah, certainly, we'd love to see him actually make a way into a show. It would definitely be a good laugh. I didn't actually even realise Mike Broomhead had a brother for the longest of times, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I feel I've got a brother as well, that being Mike Broomhead, ladies and gentlemen. He is my brother from another mother, but we are indeed getting ready to go here for the final race of the evening. This time, it's going to be Steve Sutherland who takes to the green.
Brothers, sisters, sit down, because we have got one final race to come through here. Pace car comes into pit lane, and Stephen Sutherland is going to be leading us away for the final race at Lime Rock Park, round one of the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship. That's a good jump from Sutherland coming across the line, but the slipstream already being picked up by Jackson Morley, who was tasting victory in race 2 but fell back. This is his chance to do it, but it looks like Sutherland's going to keep the lead for now. Dan Cybulski under a lot of pressure there in the black and orange machine, as he's under pressure from Clay Morris, from Keith Wilfred, from Victor Plord, Broomhead, everyone behind. There's only one driver trailing, and that is Sean Healy, who has not been able to stay with the pack. Things are looking mighty close to the chicane. A little look from Jackson Morley there. It looks like single file is the only way to go through the chicane here. Broomhead briefly going side by side with Victor Plord again, and Braden Otto brought into it. This is all the way at the back of the top 10. Brandon Hawken has made his way from 10th up to 7th. Meanwhile, he's just ahead of these guys.
Yeah, he's absolutely managing to find his way through this traffic so far. It looks like a couple of drivers there making positions up further back in the grid as well. This is where it's going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it is like a high-speed game of the Congo, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, as right now, Jackson Morley has taken to that lead. But for how long, ladies and gentlemen? Steve Sutherland retakes it back, and oh, no!
Oh, contact for the lead! Oh, no! That's the entire top... That's the entire top 5 that's gone.
Oh,
what on
and
earth? And there's more contact. Oh, wow. Okay, we've got a lot to dissect here. Lots of drivers with horrific falls down the field. Wilfred and Morris with mechanical black flags. What happened?
Well, chaos, panic, and disorder. Ladies and gentlemen, I think what indeed happened is Steve Sutherland ended up getting a little bit loose there on corner entry. And as a result, though, I believe he's managed to avoid the meatball flag. Yes, he has. Clay Morris not been so lucky on the other hand. But we should probably take a look in just a second here at the replay as, oh my gosh, we got more action. Oh,
God.
That's gotta hurt.
That's Ryan Knight and Lane Anderson, I believe, who got together there on the exit of the chicane. Absolute chaos, and in the midst of it all, Brandon Hawken has gotten back to the lead. Everyone else, you had one job.
We're gonna have to go through some replays for this one, Reece. Just give me a second here.
Yeah.
There's some real estate to go through.
Yeah, we got a few to queue up here. Well, it looks like 2 concurrent incidents at turn 1 in that lead fight. Sutherland got a bit too much on the curb at Big Bend, and that sent him around. Not much that anyone could do about that. And then Keith Wilfred decided to slip up the inside of Dan Cybulski at the very same location. This is Ella Martin's view of it all. The incident's happening ahead, and, well, Ella didn't really avoid much of that. Ended up mounting Christian Hill for a moment.
Yep. pretty much read my mind on that one. Let's try and find to see if I can get a little bit further back here there, Reese.
Yes. So the two main points of contact in this one, or the two main inciting incidents, are Sutherland spinning on the curb there, and then right behind at the bottom there, you saw Keith Wilfred and Dan Cebulski come together. So unfortunately, that involved just about everyone else in the top 5. There was really no avoiding action that could be taken, and Brandon Hawken, all he had to do was stay on the racing line, and he just flowed through.
Yeah, that was literally the jackpot for him, but ladies and gentlemen, despite that, he is not the hard charger right now. That goes out to this man. It's Mr. Sean Henley, who's currently up 11 spots.
Yep, Sean Healy there has managed to, yes, indeed, avoid the worst of the drama here today. He hasn't had the best run of finishes so far this round. His results thus far are 2 20th place finishes, 3 laps and 2 laps down respectively. So this is a huge turnaround for Sean, and hopefully he'll be able to hold on to that one because he is in the top 10. Mark Boyd, meanwhile, staying in touch with Brandon Hawken, who once again is having some internet issues. Mark Boyd just setting the fastest lap of the race in the slipstream of our leader.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff there from Mark Boyd, a 103.49. Ladies and gentlemen, he is hauling. They call him Bubba. Is certainly not a man to be reckoned with. Not only that, look at the size of the guns on the dude. He is a tough cookie, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, this is a fantastic opportunity for him. His next nearest competition, actually back in P6, is Nicholas Colander. He's a BiS regular and currently in P2 overall for the AM class.
Yes, indeed. Nicholas is a driver that I've been very familiar with over the years. First time I saw him was in the Flying Husky Racing League, which was actually my first exposure to the group of drivers that would become BiS. He was there with Michael Broomhead and Andrew Hardman and a bunch of other drivers who still we see in BiS competition. And Colander is searching for another good finish here. He started 13th for race 1, finished 21st, managed to recover to 12th in race 2, and now is up to P6 after the absolute carnage we saw at the front of the field in this race.
Yeah, right now he's trying to apply a little bit of pressure there to the back of Jackson Morley, the driver in the number 92 car, and there is another pack of cars just ahead. Don't get me wrong, if they can work together, they could potentially try and find a couple of moves further forward there. They're really not that far. Not only that, Jackson Morley is fighting for position there with Mitchell Green.
Yeah, Mitchell Green is also searching for a bit of a turnaround here. He did end up he in fact didn't set a time in qualifying, so he worked his way up to 14th in race 1, up to 11th in race 2, and now he's up to 4th. Little bit of a curb hit there, just behind. It would seem that that's a lapped car separating them from Nicholas Colander there. That's Keith Wilfred, actually, who's trying his best to stay with these guys. What does Nicholas Colander do as they go side by side ahead? Small mounting of the curb, which isn't quite enough to unsettle the car at that point, but it looks like Keith is happy to stay with these guys and be a part of this battle. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good. Too close, and that is Mitchell Green, who has been unceremoniously speared off the circuit by a lapped car.
Yeah, that's definitely a little bit unfortunate there. Don't get me wrong. Just because they're a lapped car doesn't mean they're not going to be good competition, but certainly when it comes to an incident after that, it can get a little bit colourful. But right now, Clay Morris, he has had an absolutely terrible evening of racing so far. Got a little bit lucky in race 2, but certainly it's not looking good for him right now. But saying that, he is applying pressure back to the back of the number 65 of Chris Sadler.
Yeah, Morris is really looking for a finish to try and back himself up for all 3 races, but I don't know if that's going to happen for him unless we have about 10 drivers ahead of him have problems. Clay in the slipstream of Chris there, as Sean Healy will defend from Michael Broomhead. Looks like he's caught up to Ryan Brooks and Mitchell Green as well. Remember, Healy wants to hold on to this position in the top 10. He is still the hard charger in the field, but if Broomhead gets past him here, he'll be equal hard charger with Rob Wright. Oh, God. Oh, no. It looks like a narrow turn in there for Sean Healy, ruining his momentum in the middle of the corner, and Michael Broomhead couldn't react in time.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting that either, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly a bit of a surprise for me as well. But I gotta say, hats off to this gentleman here, Mark Boyd. He is absolutely staying here with Brandon Hawkin. I almost wonder if Hawkin picked up damage, but looking at the lap times, no, this is consistent lapping, ladies and gentlemen. The best lap being currently held by Mark Boyd by 900ths of a second. I gotta say, this is one of his best driving days we've seen yet.
Certainly is. Well, whether or not Mark Boyd will be able to stop Brandon Hawkin from doing a clean sweep of this event remains to be seen. But they only have each other for company. These guys have about 6 seconds back to Braden Otto, who rounds out our top 3. And then it's another 3 seconds or so before we get to Jackson Morley and Nicholas Colander fighting for 4th place. So things have really spread out here. However, looks like the battle for 12th is starting to get on a bit. Clay Morris and Christian Hill were trading spots ever so briefly. And Chris Sadler was with them, but is now a bit further back. I think something might have happened between these 3.
Yeah, he definitely had a little bit of an off-track moment, but certainly Christian Hill is going to be familiar with the guy ahead of him, and it's going to be good to see exactly if he can indeed contest him. As you see there, late on the brakes, almost under the car there. Christian Hill, he is flirting with danger, in which case Clay Morris will come out worse should the braking markers be a little bit too late. Oh, we got Victor Plaud in the chat as well. It tells me that he's his electricity shut off, and that's why he's now out of the race. That is so unfortunate. We're sorry to hear that, Victor. I thought it was Xavier, but definitely you had some really good battles here with Michael Broomhead. Victor, I can ask, can you get into Discord from your phone? Because if so, come on in. We'll give you a quick interview before the end of the race.
Yes, if you have a look in the chat channel on the F1200 Discord, I posted an invite link there. So anyone in the field who wants to come in for an interview at the end of the race can click on that. Meanwhile, the side-by-side continuing between Clay Morris and Christian Hill. Xavier Martin not taking to the start and Victor Plaud with electricity issues. That is certainly not what you want to see. It's basically the same thing as your engine shutting off in the real world. Christian Hill having a little look at Clay Morris into the chicane, but not going to happen. It's, as I said before, not the clearest passing opportunity in the world, despite the hard braking zone into the corner.
Yeah, he's definitely giving him a good amount of pressure, though. But we've got another battle going on up here, ladies and gentlemen. It's between Jackson Morley and indeed Nicholas Colander. And I have Colander, sorry. And I have a feeling that is still, I think that may be Keith Wilfred in the middle of that. It is indeed. So certainly, despite the earlier incident, he's looking to still have a bit of fun. As I got to say, Clay Morris has not been able to shake the BiS producer.
Yeah, no, Christian Hill is competent behind the wheel. He has told me of some of his previous on-track results. But we will see if he avoids running into the grass there. I think he almost caught the grass on the way into the left-hander, which is really the only left-hander worth talking about on this racetrack. There is one other left-hand turn right here at the chicane, but it's barely a turn at all. You're just trying to set yourself up for the exit there. The left side tyres go through the ringer here at Lime Rock, 3 wide, and Nicholas Colander is going to try here up the inside. He's managing to keep Keith Wilfred behind for the moment, and now the battle will be once again between Colander and Morley.
Yeah, certainly this is also, it's really good to see that it looks like Colander's having a lot of fun as well, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, it's so underestimated. You've got to drive some of the lower power cars. Indeed, the Formula 1200 as well. It is so underrated. And then you get into it, and honestly, the racing is absolutely phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, we are indeed going to return to the lead battle for a little while as Mark Boyd is still managing to stay with Brandon Hawkin. And for those of you who don't know, so if you do an iRating comparison, you could triple Mark Boyd's iRating and then add on a little bit more to get to the level of Brandon Hawkin in paper, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, Mark Boyd, you are doing not just Canada proud, but indeed BiS proud.
Yes, Brandon Hawkin very well well-run racer and has had plenty of success in other leagues as well. Lapped car being negotiated there, and it doesn't give them too much trouble. Yes, indeed, Eugene still running out there in 18th place. But what I'm noticing is Mark Boyd is once again playing this quite smartly. He's staying in touch with Brandon Hawken, but he's not going for moves at every opportunity. He doesn't want to give Hawken the opportunity to fight back when he does make the move. The problem is, I think back to the finish of race 2. Hawken was under a lot of pressure, and the car chasing him was unable to stay within that slipstream gap on the final lap. 2 laps to go here, and Mark Boyd needs to pick up the pace a little.
Yeah, certainly Hawken has managed to pull away very slightly during that last lap also, but the straightaway really does bring him back into contention. Meanwhile, Jackson Morley and indeed Nicholas Colander still going at it as well. Keith Wilfred hanging around in the background. And we can see here a move from Colander. He's going to be there on the inside, ladies and gentlemen. Is it going to be enough? It's Am versus Pro. Right now, the Ams will head, but for how long as Jackson Morley looks to fight back as they make their way round turn 2?
Why does Christian Hill have a slowdown to his name? That's an interesting question there. But Nicholas Colander will continue to fight on there. I'm honestly sure whatever the slowdown was, it's cleared. That's really interesting. I think that was a bit of a glitch. But Jackson Morley and Nicholas Colander trading places once again. Looks like Nicholas might have missed a gear on the way up into 4th. The shift up from 3rd to 4th, you do need to give the car time to get into the next gear before you dump the clutch and get on the power again. Whoa, Christian Hill passing Sean Healy there, and it looks like Healy was having some problems.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be going a little bit of a scenic route there. Just kind of died on the left-hand side. I think he just maybe missed a gear, like you said, and that was enough. And yeah, that sounded like a missed gear.
Yeah, that's not ideal there for Sean Healy. It's easy to miss a gear as well on the downshifts. If you don't blip the throttle well enough, then you'll stay in neutral, and when you get on the power, you'll just rev the heck out of the engine. Trust me, I've done it so many times. But it is the final lap. Brandon Hawken versus Mark Boyd. Let's see what exit Boyd's going to be able to get here. He actually got quite a nice exit out of the chicane, and so that might set him up to chase Hawken to the line. The problem is, with Hawken blinking like he is, every time that car disappears ahead, Boyd is not getting the slipstream, and it looks like he might be too far behind to make any difference. So out of the final corner, it's going to be Brandon Hawken for the 3rd time today. It's a clean sweep of the event from the first champion of this series. Pole position in qualifying, and all 3 race wins go to the number 99.
Well, fair play to him. He's definitely potent. But indeed, let's give a shout out to Mark Boyd. He absolutely stayed behind that guy for the majority of that race. Not only that, secures a very comfortable win in the AM class, ladies and gentlemen. His next nearest competition in P5 overall, Nicholas Colander, who actually that's attaboy. Yep. I think that may be Nicholas Colander's actual best result we've seen in BIS. That's a P2, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Wright as well, getting on the podium as well.
Excellent stuff in the AM class. Looks like a very varied field. There are more AMs than there are pros in this series. So there's quite a bit of competition, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they go at Summit Point next round, which will happen in 2 weeks' time. We've got 2 rounds in January and 2 rounds in February to cap off a short but very intense season.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the short seasons, but ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely filled with action, as we do indeed have the last couple of drivers making their way towards the line. What I got to say, what a debut event, Reese. Absolutely phenomenal. And I got to say, the numbers really start to shoot up towards the end of it, but you can still get involved with this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to be involved, by all means, reach out to us. Leave a comment on the YouTube chat, which obviously you hit the subscribe button, right? Subtle hint, ladies and gentlemen, you got to hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see 1,000 subs. Let's say by the end of the first quarter, ladies and gentlemen. By the end of March, we'd love to see that. We'd hope for the end of 2025. Didn't quite get there, but we're pretty damn close. But ladies and gentlemen, what we probably should do is go over the final results for the evening. Reese, do the honor, sir.
Brandon Hawken, 3 from 3 today, and fantastic start to his championship there. Mark Boyd getting onto the podium overall and winning the AM class after the first couple of races didn't quite go to plan for him. Braden Otto on the podium as well, and he managed to, he's the only driver other than Brandon Hawken who got onto the podium in all 3 races, so that's quite an impressive run there from Braden. Jackson Morley finishes in 4th place ahead of Nicholas Colander, rounding out the top 5. From 16th to 6th for Rob Wright. He is our hard charger of the field. Mitchell Green, Michael Broomhead, Ryan Brooks, and Clay Morris round out the top 10.
And in P11 with Steve Sutherland, actually teammate there to Mark Boyd. So, ladies and gentlemen, a good finish for Auto Eclectic. With Christian Hill, BIS finest, ladies and gentlemen, there in P12. Sean Hunley took 13th with Chris Sadler in 14th. Ella Martin up 6 positions there in 15th. Keith Wilford, definitely a potent driver tonight, but not quite able to get it done in the final race. He drops 11 and falls into P16. Ryan Knight takes 17th with Eugene Cartini, the Cartini Racing man himself, in 18th with Lane Anderson in 19th, and then Dan Saborski rounding out your top 20 with Victor Plaud getting not just my sympathies but my condolences there with a power cut. He finishes 21st with Xavier Martin rounding out your 22 car field.
Yes, Martin, the only driver not to start all 3 races today. So we've got quite a few drivers who will be very happy with how things have gone for them tonight, and a few others who may be licking some wounds and hoping for a better run next round at Summit Point as we wait for potentially drivers to come in for a chat. We did get Christian Hill for a few moments in the warm-up, but we're just waiting on drivers to jump over for chats after the event has concluded. But gotta say, Zippy, I'm very happy with the action from tonight. I always figured Lime Rock would be one of the more intense rounds of this series. A lot of mid-corner speed that you need to carry around this place, and I think the same is going to be true when we go to Motorsport for the final round. There's basically no slow corners at that circuit other than Moss. Yeah, definitely, and I think the Formula Vee, it's going to be, it's definitely going to not be the fastest thing to ever go down the Andretti straightaway, but I think we may indeed see the most passes we've ever seen to going down the Andretti straightaway. Ladies and gentlemen, the momentum these cars carry is absolutely huge, but I have a feeling that may be Brandon Hawken, your free race winner. Absolutely. Well, welcome, Brandon. We certainly hope that you've found us in an easy fashion, but certainly wasn't easy to hold off for the win in those last 2 races.
No, definitely wasn't, and yeah, I just noticed the interview was in this Discord, so yeah, I just hopped in real quick, and yeah, thanks for posting the link there, Zippy, and yeah, man, it was that was a lot of fun, especially the second and third races there. Yeah, it was hard fought battle all throughout both of those, and yeah, Brayton in the first one, Mark in the second one, and yeah, it was just. Yeah, like there was a lot of strategy involved there, especially like yeah, with the long front straightaway here at Lime Rock. The you didn't really want to be in the lead there coming to the line, but so yeah, in the first race there, I was behind Brayton there for the last couple laps, and then I think he made just a little bit of a mistake there in the chicane. I was like, oh man, darn! I can't just like press the brakes and stay behind. Well, I mean, I guess I could have, but I just like I reluctantly took the lead, and then I was just hoping I could get enough of a gap to where he wouldn't have enough room to get me there, and I think yeah, like I got a really good run there out of the chicane, and yeah, I was just hoping I had enough having the space in between us, and yeah, I had just enough to keep the lead. That was a really fun race there with him, and then yeah, third race that was a lot of fun, starting in yeah, I think started 10th, and yeah, just trying to be like cautiously aggressive. Like with these cars, it's so easy to crash, and like you like just like one little wheel touch and it's over a lot of the time. So yeah, I just wanted to be aggressive and get up towards the front as fast as I could, because like if you get caught fighting, you can lose a lot of time, but you also don't want to be too aggressive and end up in a wreck. So yeah, I was just trying to get positions where I could there for the first lap, and then I think on the second lap there was that like huge crash. And going into turn one, I was just like you know what, like I have a I had a nice gap build up after the chicane after a couple cars were side by side, and so it was like, yeah, there's really nothing I can do here, so I'll just back off and see if something happens here. And then right when I said that in my mind, everybody started crashing. So had enough room to like navigate my way through that and without getting involved. And then yeah, Mark had a really good race there with him. I was doing all I could to try and break the draft, but he was staying right there. And so after a couple attempts, I was like, yeah, just like, yeah, there's nothing really I can do here. So I just kept just running laps, and then yeah, and then try to do the same thing that happened there in the second race, was just to try and have enough of a gap there so he wasn't able to get me at the line. And fortunately I was able to get another good run there out of the chicane, and
nice.
Yeah, it was just enough. So yeah, I definitely that definitely wasn't optimal. I definitely wanted to be in second for coming to the line there on the last lap, but yeah, it worked out. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for the like Motorsport's going to be another one where you don't really want to be the leader, but yeah, we got some other tracks coming up too. I think Laguna Seca is one that might be one where you want to stay as like far to the front as you can. And but yeah, man, it was a lot of fun coming back. I wanted to do the full season last year, but yeah, I just had a whole bunch of stuff coming up that happened to be like exactly on Thursday every single time, so I couldn't
nice.
Couldn't make it. But yeah, glad to be back, and hopefully can run the full season this time.
As are we, Brandon. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next round.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was indeed Brandon Hawkin, but we have managed to catch up with, ladies and gentlemen, they call him Bubba, leader of Auto Eclectic Motorsport. I've got to say, Mark, hat off to you. What an absolutely fantastic race for you. Up 2 positions and able to get a win in the AM class. Tell us a little bit about what your strategy was for this race.
Hey, Zippy, long time no talk, man. I don't find myself getting the interview every all so often, but hey, you know, strategy, I mean, stay clean and kind of wait. I mean, these cars are so draft dependent. You can get caught up in the battle back and forth throughout the race, and it's really the last lap that matters.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic drive from yourself, Mark. Indeed, it's good to see both yourself and Steve Sutherland making your way over, but certainly, you know, without a doubt, I think that is your highest ever BIS result, and don't get me wrong, you've worked hard for it. Fair play to you, but able to compete with a driver pretty much pushing 7,700 IR. It's not too many times you get to say that and be honest about it, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I know I can't do it, but I gotta say, I take my hat off to you, sir. I'm gonna put one on just so I can take it off. But Mark, we're heading over to Summit Point Raceway for the next round. What's your thoughts on that particular venue?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this car is it's so different than what I'm used to racing, kind of generally, and it's a blast. So I mean, every track is a new adventure, something new to learn, a new style of driving. So definitely looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a hoot. Summit Point is great in anything. One of my favorites. So in this, it's going to start the practice now and be ready to rock again.
Well, certainly, Mark, honestly, you're one of the few people I can ask this to, but having driven a Radical in real life, obviously being the leader of Auto Eclectic Motorsport, and what a fantastic job you do as well. Tell us a little bit, certainly, you're competing to drive a real Formula Vee. Tell us a little bit about what you're noticing, the differences between the cars. Certainly, I've often said that, you know, you will become a better driver by driving a lower power car and harnessing momentum and stuff like that. What could you do to kind of expand on that point? Give us your professional thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Super low horsepower car, very much a momentum vehicle, obviously no aero. So, I mean, it really gets to the fundamentals of car control. You know, the car really, you can feel the momentum shift in the car on and off the throttle with the brakes. It rotates a lot, can bite you if you're not paying attention and if you're not smooth with your inputs. And I think in comparison to something like a Radical, I mean, it's night and day. But this is why, you know, Auto Eclectic as a team in real life We've actually added a Formula Vee for the 2026 season to
Oh,
help
get
with some
in.
of our development drivers before they get into the Radical to learn some of that car control skills. So one of the drivers that you saw tonight competing under the Ottawa Eclectic banner, Ella Martin, will be running with us in the Formula 1200 series throughout 2026 in preparation for her step into Radical moving forward. So I mean, I really do believe this is a great development vehicle, both in the sim and in real life.
Well, that is honestly, it's fantastic news. I'm certainly over the moon to hear about that. And not only that, not only just hearing that we got a driver, not only that, a lady driver getting involved in motorsport and indeed getting the opportunity. That's absolutely fantastic stuff. I can think of many people who are going to be happy to hear that. But certainly it's good to see that you'll be able to set up such an opportunity and seeing the progression as well. I gotta say, Mark, it's an absolute pleasure to catch up to you, but I am gonna have to leave you to it, at least for now, sir. But congratulations once again on a P2 overall and indeed a AM class win. It's looking like you're gonna be getting to drive the competition's Formula Vee on this occasion.
Awesome, thanks, Zippy. Appreciate it, man. You take care.
You too, sir. Well, I gotta say, Reese, what an absolutely fantastic first round.
Yeah, that was incredible. And I'm really looking forward to running at Summit Point in 2 weeks' time. That's going to be the second round of the Canadian F1200 Esports Championship for 2026. As we mentioned, 4 rounds of this series, the first one having just been completed here. Stay tuned to Pit Road Productions for more news on future rounds of the series and future broadcasts. We've got a few new series starting up here on this channel, and we've certainly got a treat for you on Monday nights. It's going to be fun going forward for the next couple of months or so. A big thanks to everybody for tuning in. A huge thanks to BIS for taking over the organization of this series, and for Cartini Racing as well for sponsoring the series and providing the prizes. A real-world test and a Formula Vee for the Pro Champion, the AM Champion, and a random draw of drivers who finished on the lead lap at every race this season. I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box. We're Pit Road Productions, and we'll see you again next time.